Athens, 5th century BC. The city bustles with energy. It is the heart of the Greek world where democracy flourishes, philosophy takes its first steps, and theatre comes to life. The streets are full of merchants, philosophers, soldiers, citizens, and slaves. It is the golden age, but also a time of tensions, wars, and momentous decisions. After defeating the Persians, Athens leads the Delian League and accumulates power and influence, although not without causing suspicion among other city-states, such as Sparta. Meanwhile, in the agora, the center of civic life, laws are discussed, trials are held, and destinies are decided. In this vibrant city, every sunrise marks not only the start of a new day, but also new possibilities. In the midst of this context, we will delve into the life of an ordinary Athenian citizen, not a hero, not a king, but someone whose daily life is the raw material of the story. The sun begins to illuminate the rooftops of Athens, casting long shadows on the stone streets. The dust rises with the first steps of the merchants who open their stalls in the agora, while in the houses, the first sounds of the day break the silence of the early morning. In a modest but dignified home near the agora, he wakes up Nicias, an Athenian citizen of about 35 years old. He is not a nobleman, but neither is he a poor man. Belongs to the middle class of the polis, which means that he owns land and has the right to participate in the assembly. Like many citizens of his rank, his family lives off agriculture and the trade. He owns a small vineyard on the outskirts of the city, and although he has slaves who work for him, he also gets his hands dirty with the land when necessary. Nicias does not aspire to be a great leader, but he takes his role in the polis very seriously. At his side, his wife Chloris gets up to start housework. Like most Athenian women, your world is inside the house. Although he has no voice in politics or public life, his role is crucial. He organizes the slaves, takes care of the children, and supervises the domestic economy. The home is her domain, and within its walls, she makes all the decisions. Their occupations include spinning wool and making sure there is enough bread and oil for the day. He also ensures that his eldest son, Phaedon, 12 years old, be ready for your day. Phaedon. He yawns before getting up. For him, life is a balance between discipline and curiosity. Attend the school where you study rhetoric, mathematics, and music, essential matters for any citizen who aspires to participate in the assembly. His father is his role model, and he already dreams of the day when he can vote in city decisions. However, he is still a child and spends much of his time playing with friends on the dusty streets of Athens. But not everyone in the house is as lucky. In the kitchen, Dion, a slave of Thracian origin, has already been awake for hours, grinding grains to make bread. He is not the master of his destiny. His life depends entirely on Nicias, who bought him on the slave market. However, Dion is intelligent and has learned to read and write by watching Phaedon. His greatest hope is to one day achieve freedom, although he knows that it does not depend on him. The household of Nicias is not the only one that begins to awaken. Throughout Athens, merchants, philosophers, and soldiers prepare for the day. In it now, the heart of public life, the first vendors set up their stalls. Soon, the place will be filled with citizens discussing politics and commerce. Beyond, in the Plato's Academy, students will debate the nature of the soul and the purpose of life. Women, for their part, remain at home. In Athens, his life is relegated to the domestic sphere. Few go out into the street without the company of a man, and many spend their days in the darkness of the interior rooms, far from the eyes of others. The exception are the hetaeras, educated women who participate in banquets and can converse with men on intellectual equality, although their role is socially ambiguous. Athens is a vibrant city, but also a city of contrasts. Democracy flourishes, but it is not for everyone. Only free men have a voice. Women, slaves, and foreigners are excluded. However, they all play a role in the functioning of the polis. Nicias is not an extraordinary man, but his life is a reflection of Athens in the 5th century BC. Today is an important day for him. He must attend Assembly Strepa, where a crucial issue will be debated. It can't be missed. He doesn't want to miss. But there are still many things to do before the sun is high in the sky. The rooster crows and the day officially begins in Athens. Nicias sits on the edge of her bed, made of wood and covered with a simple wool blanket. He stretches and washes his hands and face with cold water from a ceramic basin. His wife, Chloris, is already on her feet, organizing the slaves to prepare breakfast. In the Athenian home, the morning meal is simple: barley bread soaked in wine and some dried figs. Nicias chews slowly as her mind is already on the topics of the day. While they eat breakfast, Phaedon takes the opportunity to ask questions. "Father, what will they discuss today in the assembly?" Nicias gives him a look of pride. His son has shown interest in politics since he was young. "We will decide if we should increase the taxes of the Delian League," he answers. "There are those who say we should demand more from our allies to strengthen the fleet, but others fear that this will make them rebel." The conversation is brief, as Nicias must prepare. He puts on his himation, a wide woolen cloth that covers his body over the tunic. Before leaving, say a brief prayer in front of the small family altar dedicated to Athena. Like every Athenian, he believes in the intervention of the gods in everyday life and trusts that a favor from Athena can tip the balance in the assembly. Chloris' day is different. Once Nicias and Phaedon are gone, she stays at home with the slaves. His routine is monotonous: spinning, cooking, cleaning, childcare. Sometimes she visits other women in their homes, but always under the strict surveillance of society. The outside world does not belong to him. Phaedon, for his part, walks to the school accompanied by a pedagogue slave. Education in Athens is a privilege reserved for the children of citizens. At school he learns poetry from Homer, basic mathematics, and music on the lyre. His teacher insists that rhetoric is key, because one day he will have to speak in the assembly. Phaedon enjoys his studies, but he actually prefers free time when he can run and play with his friends in the streets. In another corner of the city, Dion is on the market. He has been sent to buy provisions for the house. The agora is already bustling with activity: fruit and fish sellers, philosophers arguing about the nature of justice, mercenaries looking for work. Dion watches everything carefully. Although he is a slave, he dreams of being free, and one day, walking through this place as a citizen. Nicias, meanwhile, advances through the agora towards the Nix, where the assembly will be held. There, hundreds of citizens gather to debate the fate of the city. Athens is a democracy, but not everyone participates. Only males over 18 years of age with Athenian parents can vote. It is an honor and a duty, and Nicias is proud to be a part of it. As you climb the hill towards the Nix, you can't help but wonder, are all citizens really prepared to make such important decisions? There are those who argue that Athenian democracy is too permissive, that men without education or experience have the same power as the wisest. But Nicias knows that this is the system they have defended against the Persians, and that without it, Athens would not be Athens. Today's session will be long. The city has a lot at stake in this decision. The sun shines on Athens as Nicias arrives at the Pnyx, the hill where the assembly meets. Around him, hundreds of citizens have responded to the call. The crowd murmurs, already discussing the topics of the day. Some men group together by political affinities. Others, like Nicias, listen silently as they wait their turn to speak or vote. In the center of the Nix, on a stone platform, an official raises his hand and calls for order. Athenians, we begin this session with a matter of great importance: the tribute of the Delian League. The Delian League, created to defend Greece from the Persians, has gone from being a military alliance to a source of power and wealth for Athens. Since Pericles moved the League's treasury to the Acropolis, the city has used those resources to strengthen its fleet and beautify its temples. But not everyone agrees with this use of money. The allies are increasingly angry, and in recent months there have been rumors of rebellion in some cities. The first speaker, a man in a dark robe, steps forward with determination. "Athenians," he exclaims, "our city is the protector of all Greece. Without our fleet, the barbarians could return. At any time we need more resources, our allies must pay." Some voices cheer his speech, but there are also boos. Another speaker stands up. His himation is more modest, but his voice resonates firmly. "Allies," he asks, They call us allies, but we treat them as subjects. If we continue to oppress them with taxes, how long will it take for them to rebel? Do we want another war? The murmur intensifies. Nicias crosses her arms, meditating. Both arguments make sense. The fleet is key to security, but allied discontent could become a serious problem. In his mind, he visualizes the allied cities, Eretria, Chios, Miletos. How long will they continue to accept Athenian rule? An old man with a grey beard speaks. Let's not be naive. The democracy we enjoy here in Athens is not for everyone. Our allies have no voice, but we decide for them. We have used your money to build the Parthenon, to make Athens the most glorious city in the world. If we continue to demand more tribute, we risk being hated even more. The crowd reacts divided. Some nod solemnly, others accuse him of weakness. Athens has always been strong because it has imposed its will on others. Should it continue like this, or is it time to give in a little? Finally, a magistrate comes forward with a wooden tablet. It's time for the vote. Each citizen places a stone in an urn to decide whether taxes should increase or remain the same. Nicias holds hers for a moment before making her decision and placing it in the box. Your vote is anonymous, but your responsibility is immense. When voting is over, officials count the stones under the watchful eye of the crowd. A tense silence fills the air. Finally, the result is announced. The taxes will remain, at least for now. A collective sigh runs through the assembly. Some celebrate, others murmur in disapproval. Nicias feels a weight less on her shoulders. For today, they have avoided the wrath of the allies, but Athens continues to walk a tightrope. As the crowd disperses, Nicias descends the hill. The session is over, but politics never rests in Athens. Tomorrow there will be new speeches, new decisions, and the fate of the city will continue to hang in the balance. Nicias advances through the crowd, leaving the Nix. The sun beats down on Athens, and the air vibrates with the midday heat. Divided emotions are reflected on the faces of the citizens. Some celebrate the decision to maintain the taxes, others frown, worried about the possible consequences. Nicias feels he has done the right thing, but can't help but wonder if the peace with the allies will last much longer. The city has made its decision, but the allied cities, for the most part, have no say in this. Head down the hill and into the agora, the beating heart of the city. Here, among the fruit, fish, and ceramic stalls, politics is also discussed. A group of men talk loudly about the assembly. If we continue to squeeze our allies, they will make us their enemy, says one. And what does it matter, answers another. Athens is strong. If anyone rebels, we will crush them. Nicias stops for a moment, listening. Both positions are widespread in the city. Deep down, what lies beneath is the question that many are afraid to ask out loud. How much longer? Will this hegemony last before everything explodes? In a corner of the agora, under a stone column, an old man in a worn robe speaks to a group of young people. His tone is slow, but his message is clear. Let us not forget that Athens was also once oppressed, he says. When the Persians demanded our submission, we fought for our freedom. Is it not natural that our allies want the same? Nicias recognizes the man. He is a follower of Socrates, one of those philosophers who question everything. He knows that many consider them dangerous, but he cannot deny that their words plant doubts in his mind. Meanwhile, at Nicias' house, Chloris listens to the rumors that the slaves bring from the market. They say that in Chios they are furious. With Athens, comments one of them, that the taxes are leading them to ruin. Chloris frowns but says nothing. It is not your role to comment on politics. His only concern is the well-being of his family, but inside he feels a growing discomfort. If a rebellion breaks out, Athens will go to war, and when the men go to war, the women are left alone. Dion, the Thracian slave, returns with the provisions that Nicias entrusted to him. He walks quickly, dodging the arguing merchants and citizens. He is not surprised by the tensions in the city. As a slave, he has learned to read the faces of free men. When they are worried, when they feel afraid, their treatment towards the slaves becomes harsher. He's already experienced it before. He knows that when Athens enters into conflict, those of his kind pay the price. More taxes mean more work for slaves, more punishments for those who do not comply with their master's demands. Phaeton, for his part, returns from school with his mind full of questions. "Father," he says, as soon as he sees Nicias at the entrance of the house, "why do some men say that Athens is just and others say that it is tyrannical?" Nicias smiles tiredly. "Because there is never only one truth, son," he responds. "It depends on who tells it." The afternoon falls on Athens. In the houses, oil lamps begin to light, but even when the city sleeps, the echoes of the assembly will continue to resonate in the streets, in homes, on the ships that set sail for the allied cities. History continues its course, and although today Athens has decided not to increase taxes, the question remains in the air. How long can its power be sustained without stirring up a storm? Night has fallen on Athens, but the city does not sleep. The taverns are still full, the wine is flowing, and the conversations are becoming more intense. In the shadows, rumors spread like fire in a dry field. The assembly's decision to maintain taxes has generated concern among citizens, and even more so among allied cities. In the streets, men debate the future. Some defend the power of Athens and its right to rule with authority, while others fear that this dominance will only bring more conflict. The tensions are palpable, and uncertainty is installed in every corner of the polis. Nicias walks with the weight of uncertainty on her shoulders. The greatness of Athens has been built on a fragile structure, sustained by the submission of its allies and the constant threat of its military might. But history has shown that no empire is eternal. There, finds wonder how much longer they can maintain this dominance without causing a widespread uprising. The news coming from the allied cities is not encouraging. On Chios and Samos there are riots, and Spartan ambassadors are said to have been seen in several polis. The shadow of Sparta extends over the Aegean, and the possibility of large-scale conflict becomes increasingly real. The next day, the city's apparent tranquility is interrupted by the arrival of a messenger from Euboea. His expression is serious, and his presence in the agora does not go unnoticed. The crowd gathers around him as he announces the news that will change the fate of Athens. Miletos has taken up arms against the city. Tension takes over the place immediately. Miletos is one of the key cities in the Delian League, a fundamental piece in the Athenian domain. Their rebellion is a symptom of a much larger crisis. If it falls, other polis will follow its example. The merchants and citizens who are in the market exchange uneasy glances. If the revolt spreads, Athens' stability could collapse completely. The rumor spreads quickly through the city and reaches the assembly. Concerned and angry citizens demand answers. An extraordinary meeting is immediately called to decide the next steps. The discussion is intense, and positions are divided. Some defend the need to suppress the rebellion forcefully to prevent other cities from joining the revolt. Others warn that continuing to rule by force will only hasten the collapse of Athenian rule. However, the decision is made quickly. A fleet will be sent to quell the Miletos rebellion before the situation gets out of control. While the Council of 500 meets to organize the expedition, in the port of Piraeus, the sailors and soldiers prepare for what appears to be the start of a new war. The city, which until recently was relatively calm, is now engulfed in a whirlwind of uncertainty and fear. In the taverns near the port, the rumors do not stop. There is talk that Sparta has already mobilized troops and that Miletos is not alone in its uprising. The possibility of war spreading throughout Greece is more real than ever. The news of the expedition soon reached the homes of the citizens. At Nicias' home, the atmosphere is somber. War means danger, sacrifice, and death. As a hoplite, he is obliged to fight if called upon. There is no choice possible. Deep down, he knows that the peace of Athens has ended, and that what is to come will define the city's destiny forever. The city of Athens wakes up with a feeling of unease. The streets, which would normally be filled with the characteristic bustle of daily life, seem enveloped in a heavy air, as if the polis itself understood that something has changed. The news of the military expedition to Miletos has spread to every corner of the city. In the port of Piraeus, ships are being equipped with supplies, weapons, and men ready to leave for what could become a new war. For many citizens, this day marks the beginning of a new stage of uncertainty, in which the stability of Athens is at stake. Nicias wakes up before dawn. His body is tense and his mind is restless. Although he has always been loyal to his city and its ideals, he cannot help but wonder if Athens' strategy is sustainable in the long term. Hegemony is not maintained solely with military victories, but with the will of those who are subjected. As the Delian League crumbles, the threat of a prolonged war becomes more real. If the allied cities begin to unite in their resistance, Athens' war effort could become an unsustainable burden. The families of the hoplites who have been called to the expedition prepare for the farewell. In the houses, wives organize provisions, children look at their parents with a mixture of pride and fear, and the elderly remember past conflicts with the bitter certainty that war only brings suffering. The machinery of war is set in motion, indifferent to individual sacrifices. The women of Athens know that once the men leave, the city depends on them to keep functioning. Some accept their fate with resignation, others with contained rage, but they all understand that in times of war their voice has little weight. In the agora, merchants discuss how the conflict could affect the economy. If the war spreads, tributes will become an even bigger problem. Taxes will increase, and, with them, unrest among citizens. Athens, a prosperous and vibrant city, could become a victim of its own ambition. The memory of the Persian Wars is still fresh in the minds of some, and the possibility of a confrontation with Sparta and its allies awakens old fears. The sun rises over the harbor as the ships begin to set sail. From the coast, citizens watch as the soldiers retreat towards the horizon. Some will return as heroes, others will never return. Uncertainty is the only thing that is certain. Athens still stands, but its future is uncertain. In the heart of the city, life goes on. Temples continue to receive offerings. Schools teach young people about the greatness of Athenian democracy, and artisans work in their workshops as if nothing has changed. But beneath the surface, an invisible tension spreads like a crack in marble, a sign that Athens' stability hangs by a thread. When night falls, the city lights shine with the same intensity as always. But in the minds of citizens, one question remains unanswered. Will Athens be able to sustain its power without falling into its own arrogance?